All right, we're out at the home of Steve Pickens. They live right next door to the Sellers, who I helped out with their project probably a good 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. So he's been admiring the work, and he's spoken to Mr. and Mrs. Sellers about the quality of work we did and decided to give us a call. So we're looking at his house today. Definitely a high need here. I think that kind of goes without saying. Really something needs to be done here. Kind of narrowed it down that Hardie's the only focus moving forward. Patching and repairing this isn't in any way, shape, or form going to get him to what he wants. So we're going to kind of approach the project from just fixing the immediate areas of concern. Obviously, no question, have to be a full tear off. Probably go back with the same style that we did for Mr. and Mrs. Sellers, which is just 8 1/4 cedar mill select. We don't know, probably do a follow-up to this. We don't know the exact scope of work yet. We haven't nailed it down, but we may look at this little porch area, just painting it as a way of cost reduction, because there's a significant degree of rot that we're going to need to account for. So we may remove this portion that you see right in here, this little front alcove, remove that portion from the scope of work as far as replacement, and just paint it. As of right now, we're leaving the fascia and soffit alone, and we're just going to focus on the sidewalls of the house, which really need it. So if this would be included, we can get a little creative under here and do an overlay, which would save a good chunk of money. And we would do that, replacing the trim around the windows, the 2 windows that you see back in there, and the door. And there's also some porch ceiling up there. So gutters, as of right now, don't need to come off if we're just addressing the sidewalls. So we'll again update if needed, but that's kind of our preliminary approach, should we say, as we talked about it. Oh yeah, we will be wrapping the garage door frame here. Okay, so that'll be wrapped in Hardie. Everything else is brick. The windows are in brick. We have this little bump out, and it's vinyl siding right now. So it is a flat roof, but that flashing, the integrated flashing on the roof goes over the vinyl. So we should be able to get the Hardie under there no problem. And that whole window box will be redone in Hardie with a 1x4 trim around the window. Probably a 1x2 corners, just because of the width of it. So we'll do a 1x2 on the corners, 1x4 around the window. And the rest of it will be the 8 1/4 cedar mill select. So that's what we got there, and we'll go around to the sides. So it kind of gets progressively worse as we go. This is the side here on the left side that's obviously probably one of the better areas, but still really urgently needing to be done. We're going to replace, just pop in some new vents. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 right there. So we're going to replace those vents, just to take a soffit vent and basically put that in there. So we'll have those new vents. We'll retrim them, but then, again, full tear off, no question about it. We have 2 of these triangular gable vents. We're just going to paint those. We'll keep the mesh the same. There's no ridge vent, so we need to keep some ventilation up there. This window, as you can see, this is very common to pretty much every window on here. Is just the degree of rot, and it's through the T111 into the wall cavity. So there have Steve said there was no signs of interior moisture on the sheetrock or any kind of staining anywhere, which I think both of us were surprised about. But definitely there is going to be a moderate to heavy amount of framing repair, stud repair, that we're going to have to account for on this job, just because of the degree of rot. So we will do that. We'll capture that, and we already explained the process of unforeseen rot and damage, so that is all out in the open and clear. So there should be no debates or any kind of confusion about that. But these areas, specifically this area right where it's been leaking in through the sides, there's going to be probably rot repair under there. So we'll account for all that. This is pretty bad. So we got all the trim rotten. As you can see, that's the base plate's rotten. Probably on this whole bump out, the base plate's going to need to be replaced, as well as probably a significant amount of the framing. You also have this little problem up above with some rot over the window right here. So it doesn't just, it's not isolated to the bottom. We also got issues up above. So again, some of this other stuff looks fairly decent, and then you get to this and see some pretty significant problems. We'll talk about insulation when we go in the house. This insulation, you know, it's typical of most other homes this age. Gets weighted down and falls down in the wall cavity, so we'll talk about that when we go in. And again, we'll probably do an addendum to this video to talk about some of these other things. But again, see all the rot back there. Goes down back here. I can't even really suggest doing a conservative tear off just because of the degree of rot, and I don't think it would be doing the right thing. We'll just paint this back door. He said he needs a new one, but as of right now, we got to address the main issue at hand here, which is the siding, sidewall siding specifically. A ton more rot all the way up the chimney. You can see the flashing elements are showing through. We got holes straight through to the chimney cavity. So I guarantee there's going to be a lot of framing that we're going to have to do in the chimney. Cables, you know, looks like some of these are dead, so some of that coax that's not used anymore, we can peel off the wall, get rid of it as an eyesore. We do have a little electrical over here. We'll have to pull away the conduit for the AC. We've got one hose bib. I don't see any GFIs, but we do have one hose bib for sure. Doesn't look like any GFIs. This doggy door, we're going to close up. We're not going to worry about the interior. We're just dealing with the exterior. So we'll take the doggy door off, frame it over, and side right on over it. The soffit and fascia has been on here for, Steve said, probably in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 years. So that would be ideal to address that. But again, based on some of what we see here, we need to figure out a solution for the sidewalls to prevent this from the cost just increasing, you know, pretty much every day it sits here. It's getting more expensive with rot. So I'm going to try to eliminate that right away. And we already talked about on our inspection doing the soffit and fascia as a possible secondary phase, or maybe an adder if we can get the rest of this, a solution for the rest of this stuff. So you can see just significant amount of rot. We do have electrical right here we'll have to pull away. So we'll side behind that, pull it away, reattach it, and then paint all the boxes and conduits. So it'll look really, really pretty when it's all said and done. So you can see some of the rot, and it's through the wall. I mean, it's just, you can see the insulation. I mean, there's no joke about it here. Again, the water's coming down the sides of the window frames, which is causing the rot in the trim, but also probably underlying issues beneath each window. Got something else going on here. You can see right up into the insulation. Same way. So really, there's really, like I said, no point in trying to salvage any of this. I think that would be kind of futile at this point. But got all the trim. So all the trim will be Hardie 1x4 genuine material. Won't be cedar or anything like that. It'll be a fiber cement board. And then this little awning here, Steve is going to remove this. It's just tied kind of a little ledger board into the house. So he was going to remove this, not necessarily dispose of it, remove this so he can reattach it at a later date, but we are not going to be responsible for either removing or reinstalling this patio cover. And that's pretty much what we got. So again, we'll do a little follow-up to this and look at some of those finer details, but we kind of got a lay of the land now, know what needs to be done, and really look forward to providing a solution here, just so this doesn't continue to get worse, and most importantly, so it doesn't continue to get more expensive. So thanks for having us out, Steve. We look forward to working with you.